Yes, sir. How are you, Dino?
How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great.
We
Hey,
don't get to
this
see each other all that often.
I know this is pretty awesome, and we were gonna buy you a hat, but you've
As
got
soon as I came down here, I was like, I should have put a hat on. I should have I'm not even wearing jeans. Like this is crazy.
no, this is awesome. Dino, he might seem like the unicorn in this group because he's a little bit of an outlier for our group, but again, the reason that I asked him to come is because I want the outside perspective of being able to say, hey, this works in other industries. There are principles that we work in other industries that we can adopt. And so that's Dino has got an entrepreneurial spirit and he helps businesses to be successful, to be profitable. And so I know that there are going to be things that we can glean. So let's roll with it, Dino.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jared, for having me, and thank you everybody for being here. You got a great group. I've been actually listening in over the last couple hours. I wanted to make sure my tech and everything was all set up. I do this a lot, so I have a presentation that's going to be a little different. We're going to do all my PowerPoints here on my studio, as opposed to me going to a small little thing here, and hopefully it'll help you engage a little more. I work primarily in the orthodontic dental private practice space, but as Jared said, all the principles that I teach are just basic business principles on helping people grow their grow an awareness of people in their area, making sure that they're creating what I call a magnetic culture equation, where you're literally attracting the right people to work with you and for you, and also as partners. And I know in here you got a lot of people in different partnerships scenarios. So that's really important for them to understand who are they getting into business with. I was able to listen on a little earlier to a couple of the speakers and some of the ones from, I think it was Australia, or was it New Zealand?
So we had one from the UK so
UK.
far today, and then we've got Australia tomorrow.
Australia
And
tomorrow.
yep.
So the gentleman from the UK, I got to listen into that a little bit. And he has that farm, the smaller farm, the acre and a half or whatever, but still he has to attract the right people to him. And I think that's really important for all of us. So my philosophy is basically when it comes to the people that you hire, the people that you're working with, and the people you want to work for, that you have to understand how to attract them in the right way. Basically, how are you going to be the sugar to a bunch of ants? How are you going to be the flower to the bees? And that's what I do. And as Jared said, I'm a little bit of a unicorn here because this is about as close as I get. Let me see it, make sure my clicker's not working. Oh, my clicker's not working for me all of a sudden.
But yeah, I actually got to meet Dino. Oh, it's been a little bit over a decade ago when I felt the call to learn how to present and to be able to share a message because I knew that God had given me the responsibility to be a messenger. And so he and I actually worked together and learning how to present. And he did some of the trainings. And Kirk Duncan, who spoke on our last summit, participated in that as well. So that's kind of our backstory. Dino's been to our ranch, brought his kids when they were young, and we shot. I think we shot 22s and did some fun stuff around the ranch. So even though he doesn't come from a ranching background, again, because of the entrepreneurial spirit that he has, he brings a lot here to the table.
All right, so this is about as far as I get when it comes to going into farms or the woods, or I'm very much a city boy, and hopefully my slides will work the rest of the way. But Jared, do you know what this is? Do you have any idea where this was taken? I know you know they're aspen trees. I'm sure you get that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Have you ever been to Fish Lake before?
No.
Okay, so Fish Lake is about 3 hours away from me down south. And I know you're in a different area of the country, but down south from me is a place called Fish Lake, and they have this thing. It's the largest aspen grove in the world. Matter of fact, it's the largest living organism in the world because many of you already know, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Aspen trees are not individual trees. They all grow together. They join their root system together so they can help one another. And this is the epitome to me of what a culture should be. Whether we're building a culture in an industry like Jared, you're doing here, or you're building that culture in a small farm at home. Because the great thing about aspen groves is that they join in together. They don't intertwine, they intermingle their actual root system together so they can help each other out. So let's just say you've got a smaller aspen tree over here, and obviously a larger one here. You've got a thinner one here and a thicker one here, older one, younger one. The great thing about these trees is they just naturally know if this tree over here is needing minerals, water from the ground that it doesn't have here and it's located over here, these trees will actually suck up those minerals from the ground and pass it along through the root system to help these trees over here. They don't judge it based upon the type of soil that they're in. They don't judge it based upon their age or their width or their anything. And that to me is the best example naturally of a culture, because cultures are meant to help support one another, even though we have different ways of going about the things that we do. In my industry, I talk about this when it comes to the boomers versus the Gen Zs, right? Even though we're from totally different generations, we still have to work together. This Pando has done such a great job. It's called the Pando in Fish Lake, and it's done such a great job. This thing is over 1,000 football fields large. The cool thing about aspen trees, and again, you probably mostly know this, is that they are incredibly resilient. They're the last thing, sorry, to burn in a fire, but the first things to start growing again. They're incredibly resilient and they work together. My goal is to help you understand what do we mean by culture. And that was a little example of that, but I'm gonna go a little deeper with that. Because I think a lot of times people get the word culture wrong. They talk about, the perks of having good culture or the side benefits of having a good culture, but nobody really gets it down. And this is a conversation that I usually have on stage. It usually takes about 90 minutes. So I'm gonna shrink this down into 30 minutes for you. So I'm gonna rapid fire at you just to see how hopefully one or two little nuggets can help you in your business and who you're bringing to your business and attracting to you. So when I look at culture, a right culture, a powerful culture can overcome all of these things: price, location, economy, politics, pandemic, even a bad product. So let me give you a quick example of what I consider a bad product. Not that they're a bad company, not that they are bad people, but I don't think anybody in the world would say that McDonald's has good food for you. It might be good food. I mean, those fries, whatever they put on those fries, it's like little sprinkles of crack because it makes you keep coming back, right? I get it. But nobody would say that McDonald's has good beef or good food for you. But McDonald's definitely has a culture that has overcome all of these things because it understands its customer. It understands who it's selling to, and the customer understands them. There's no mix up in exactly what they're looking for. But when you look at all these things, you can overcome price, location, economy, politics. I'm going to show you how they do that with 3 simple little steps. So when we go back to culture, this is what I think the culture really is in your business. When it comes down to it, it's the black box. The black box of your business. If you think about it, whenever a plane goes down, what do people look for? The black box. What went wrong? What was the pilot doing? Well, in any major business, they always look for what went wrong. Whenever it goes down, let's look at Enron's a really good example, right? Even though Enron had core values, which we'll get to that in a little bit later, core values of honesty and integrity, they tanked. And what did people do first? What was the culture like? What was the leadership like? What was going on inside the business? Any major company, they always look for what I call the black box of the business's culture. But on a more specific space, the reason why I speak a lot about culture is because a lot of people in business will talk about the hard skills you need to understand. And they'll look at culture or communication or employee engagement or any of those things as a soft skill, meaning we can push it off to the side. But I'm a firm believer that you can work on hard skills all day long, but they will never produce the soft skills that are necessary for that connection, communication, and understanding. But working on soft skills, or quote unquote soft skills like culture, will always produce hard results. It'll always increase the hard skills that you're trying to improve on. So to make it real simple, if any of you have ever tried to outwork out a bad diet, you understand what the difference is between having a soft skill focus or a hard skill focus. You can go to the gym every single day, spend hours there, but if after the gym you visit McDonald's, it's probably not going to turn out too well for you. So if all you do is focus on the hard skills, it's not going to turn out too well for you. So my personal definition of culture is this: it's a culture, which is the magnification of a personal belief or desire when joined with others who share the same belief. Boy, Jared, what are you doing today? Jared has a personal belief or desire around ranching and farming, around sustainable earth, and he's joining in with other people with the same belief. Who else has done that and had been very successful? Well, let's look at some other companies in a moment. But when we think about this and we think about the people we're hiring or the people that we're bringing on to work with us, a toxic culture, meaning a negative culture, culture that makes people feel like they're being taken advantage of, or anything you can think about toxic wise, is by far the strongest predictor of attrition and is 10 times more important than compensation. All of you know somebody who is passionate about what they do and not being paid enough. My wife and I, we buy businesses, and we recently bought a chiropractic business in Arizona. We had a team member there. The office manager has been there for 12 years. And the previous owner paid her, which she accepted happily, like it wasn't an indentured servant or anything like that. She accepted $2,200 a month for her pay. 22. My son makes more than $2,200 a month at his, low rate job. Why? Because she's passionate about chiropractic. She loves the people. So when people argue, oh, you have to pay people more, hey, I want to pay people as much as you possibly can. But the fact of the matter is, it's not necessarily the pay as why people are leaving you or not wanting to work for you. It's because you don't have a powerful culture. It's because you don't understand this very, very important thing. In any culture, if it's not specifically designed, it's dedicated or sorry, dictated by the strongest energy in the office, or in your case, the farm, or in anywhere. And you've all been in situations like this before. The loudest person, the meanest person, the most boisterous person suddenly gets all the attention. And because people don't want to rock boats, they let them control things. Now, I believe that every business has a culture that goes through these four areas. You start off, or don't have to start off, hopefully you're not starting off this way, but if you are in any type of contaminated space, that means that you're letting other people control your environment, control your business. Then it goes to undesigned, which means that you're doing okay, but you're actually wishing you can actually accomplish a little bit more. Developing is where most people tend to be, where they think or they look like they're doing okay on the outside, but they really know they could be doing better. And then magnetic and thriving is where people are coming to them and the right people they're working with, and they're having the right opportunities in front of them. So as my gift, I don't know how you guys are distributing these, Jared. I wasn't quite sure, but I told them I would give you all. My book is called The Practice RX. It's a book, no matter if you have a practice or a business or a farm, it doesn't matter. I just focused it to a certain audience. Want to give everybody two things. Number one is this quiz that you can take, or your employees can take as well. There's two sections where you can find out where do you stand and then what to do about it. Even if you're magnetic and thriving, there are certain things you have to do to keep that going. So everybody can get this quiz. I think this is a part of the package or the folder that everybody's getting as well. And then on that same page is a download of my book called The Practice RX. It was released in 2015. And there is a mini course that goes along with it that you can get. It's all for free. Usually sell it. I wanted to give that to Jared and you guys as a gift there. So that's how you understand what price is. But now let's go back to what we were talking about with overcoming price, location, economy, politics, pandemic, and even a bad product. So when we look at this, we look at companies like Disney, like Apple, like Harley Davidson, like Zappos. When we understand what powerful cultures can do, we understand that they spent time, effort, and energy to develop those cultures. Let me give you Apple as an example. I'll go back here for just a moment when we talk about this. When we think about Apple, let's go with Apple for a moment, just because it's so widely known. Everybody knows that they either got them in their pocket or they're using them on their computer, or at least they know about them. Apple has products that are far more pricey than any other product out there. Well, there's a very specific reason why and how they got to the place of being able to do that, which I'm going to reveal at the very end of our time together. But every single one of you, even though you know that Apple is more pricey, you also know or have heard of a dead broke college student sleeping on somebody's couch who has what? An iPhone that they can't probably afford, or an Apple laptop. Why? Because they've created a culture around it that people want to use that. So how are you going to be able to create the culture around your products, your services, to make people stand up in a line around a corner when you're releasing the new thing, when you're making a drop, or when you're actually bringing out something new to the market? That's the secret. In my opinion, every major company understands this, like Apple, like Disney, all these companies, they understand these simple steps in order to create their magnetic culture. The first, I know that Matt is going to talk about this as well, is vision. Understanding the vision of your company. Sorry, let me get to there. Let's just imagine for just a moment, let's all go in a car ride together. It's going to be middle of summer. We're going to go on a summer road trip. Let's do this as a group, all 100 and some other matter of us. We're going to go on the car ride together. And here's a couple of caveats. The first caveat is we don't know where we're going. We're just going to get on the road and go and figure it out. We got no map. We got no GPS. We're just going to go. Caveat number two is that there's no air conditioning in this car. Absolutely zero air conditioning. It broke, sorry, but we can do it like we did when I was a kid and just roll down the windows and get that air conditioning from nature, right? There's actually a third caveat too. The third caveat is the only thing that works sound-wise in the car is an AM radio, not even FM, just AM. The CD player doesn't work, DVD player, no satellite radio, nothing. And we're not going to allow anybody to bring their devices, no phones, no tablets, no nothing. So now that you have been invited onto this road trip, there's probably not a lot of you who would want to go on this road trip still. No matter how charismatic and charming I am, it's a road trip where you don't even know where you're going. But let's just change one of the variables of that road trip, where we're going. We're going to go to whatever yours is, your favorite vacation spot in the world. We're going to drive there. Even if there are no roads, we're getting there. Wherever it is, we're getting to your favorite place. When I do this in front of audiences, the fascinating thing is this. Out of all the variables that people can put up with, the one that is the hardest is not knowing where they're going. Because just like in business, we know that there's going to be other variables that come along. There's going to be storms. There's going to be droughts. There's going to be government interference. There's going to be all these things. But if you know where you're going and you know what your vision is, then you will keep driving even if all the other stuff comes along. And people will join you on that cause because they believe and they have a desire to go to your destination. That vision is crucial to your business. And here's the thing. This is where most people don't know how to actually describe what their vision is in a way that makes people get excited about this. Matter of fact, I was just watching the other night for fun. I watch things like Shark Tank and The Profit. That's my fun time. And the sharks were talking to a person who had invented this interesting clothing line, this jacket. And Robert Herjavec, who's one of the sharks, he was talking about this company he invested in called Tipsy Elves. And he said, listen, one of the things about Tipsy Elves that I knew right away was just by the name alone, everybody knew it was fun and unique and silly. And that's what our brand is. That's what our vision is, to create fun, unique, silly. You have to know what your vision is right away, and people have to know what it is too. For most people, you need three visions that I always like to look at. Number one, what's your legacy vision? So for example, I have a legacy vision. My vision for what I do every single day is to reverse the direction of divorce, addiction, and suicide amongst business owners and their team members. That's why I do what I do every day. What products, services can I give to help reverse the direction of divorce, addiction, and suicide amongst business owners and their team members? But I will never be able to accomplish that on this earth. It's just something I'm starting now. I know I won't be finished ever, so that's why it's my legacy. Next is the actionable vision. What can I do in the next 3 to 5 years to get me to where I want to go? Not more than 5. A lot of people go, oh, 10 years, 20 years. No, 3 and 5 years. You all know what happens in a 3 and 5 year cycle. What can I change or focus on 3 to 5 years that will get me to the action steps? And lastly is the hardest one, which is daily. Daily vision of keeping your vision daily and knowing what you're focused on is the hardest one. Why? Because there are other people involved in that daily vision. You could be doing perfectly fine, woke up on the right side of the bed, got your wonderful cup of coffee, drove to the farm on just perfect traffic, and then someone else does something outside, an exterior, that messes it all up. Says something, does something, breaks something, messes it all up. So the daily one is always the hardest. But here's the truth. When those storms of life come, if you have a true vision, it will keep you anchored. You might have to hold on super tight. It might be hard and challenging, but it's what will keep you anchored. So now that we got our vision, we have to understand part 2, which is our expectations. So understanding what the expectations are. There are 4 general expectations in any business that every business has to have. Number 1 is your general expectations, which I always say, like, okay, don't be a jerk. Be a good human being. Don't make us, don't embarrass us. Specific expectations are, what do you need to do to keep your job? And I need to be able to explain that to my employees in a way that helps me say, let me paint a picture for you of what this looks like when it's done, or what your job is like. So they have a clear understanding. My perception versus their perception are two different things. If any of you have teenagers, you know that what clean your room means to you and clean your room means to them are two completely different things. It's the same thing with our employees. Third is your company expectations, or what many people call core values. And then last is client expectations. I believe every business has a right to say, this is what we expect from our clients, from our customers. We have a right to say, no, we're not going to sell this to you. No, you're not going to get it this way. Disney has a cannot enter list to Disneyland because there are people who broke the client expectations or customer expectations, or in their words, guest expectations. I'm just going to focus very quickly on company expectations or core values, because this is what I think is the roadmap to getting to the vision. This is where, when the winds of storm or life come and you get pulled off your vision, if you're tethered with your core values, you still can get back to the vision. Even when things like COVID happen, even when a drought happens, even when anything happens. These are what I call real core values. So real core values are things that are relevant, engaging, action-based, and leadership-led. So I'll go back to Enron like I mentioned before. 3 of their core values, Enron: honesty, integrity, customer service. That really didn't help them out, did it, right? So if I were to ask every single one of you to put in the chat a 1, if you believe that one of your core values would be honesty. Let's just, if you believe that if one of your core values is honesty, let's go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Cool, good. All right. Okay, what about, give me a 2 if you think one of yours would be integrity. Go ahead and put a 2 in there if you think it'd be integrity. Awesome, cool. So these 2's coming. Great, good. And I am so grateful that we have every one of you saying that we want honesty and integrity. I love it when I go to events and I get to see people's hands raised when I ask that, and the people that aren't raising their hands are always concerning me, right? But here's the truth. That's not a core value. That is the cost of doing business. Honesty, integrity, great customer service, those are all, that should not be the bar. How do I know that? Because all of you have those as core values, or you've said they would. Give you an example. When I married my wife and I have been married for 30 years, when I got on my knee and asked her to marry me, I did not in any way, shape, or form afterwards say, cool, now I'm going to be honest with you. Wasn't that assumed in the ring? Wasn't that assumed in the proposal? My wife and I don't have the core value of honesty. That's a part of marriage. Our core value is radical transparency. So let me give you a couple of examples of that, what I mean by that, generic versus will. See, I think things like honesty or integrity, or we believe in doing good, or great customer service, those are all, my favorite is we accept major credit cards, by the way. Those are all just generic phrases that people will say. But a true core value, a real core value, would be, instead of we're honest, we guarantee radical transparency. Instead of we have integrity, we're dedicated to only having good days and great days. We deliver results, not excuses. We're committed to being the best part of our clients' or customers' day. We sit on the same side of the table as you. Why are those different? Because now you're actually telling people what you stand for, as opposed to just using it as a nicety. This is who we are. And your company has to have them that are specifically to you and who you are. That way people know what your commitment is to them. And I truly believe that every challenge in the office can be solved with the right core value. Because once you have the right core values, you don't have to make any decisions anymore. I'll give you the example again of my wife and I. Because we have the core value of radical transparency, when my wife asks me if this outfit looks good on me, I can say, actually, no, it doesn't. Because she knows I'm being truthful with her in a way that is radically transparent. And I'm always going to be that way. It's a little silly example, but that's how we've been able to get through 30 years of challenges, of children, of whatever it is, because we have those core values, not just, oh yeah, I'll be honest with you. So now the last one. In the last 5 minutes, I'm going to share this one with you, which is crucial to your team members. I don't care if you have one team member or 100 team members. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, I don't use the word staff because, as you all understand, a staff is an infection nobody wants. I use the word team and team member for everything that we do because a team wins or loses today together. Michael Jordan said, great team members or players, sorry, team players win games. Great teams win championships. So you have to understand how to support them. The number one reason why we lose employees is not because of pay. The number one reason with survey after survey after survey has been lack of feeling appreciated. Lack of feeling appreciated. And I have people come to me all the time. I have my clients are, Dino, are you kidding? I do like special pizza parties and I tell them thank you all the time. That's cool and that's good. Don't stop doing that. However, we're all individual human beings and we all have different ways to feel supported. So there are 5 support styles. We don't have time to go through all of them, but I'm going to give you this as another gift. Scan this QR code, take a picture of the QR code. This is basically a survey or an assessment that you and anybody on your team can take so you can find out which one of their 5 support styles you need to understand. If any of you have read the love languages, it's kind of like that, but in business. Okay, and I'm going to go through that pretty quickly with you of what those 5 are. Now, I'll tell you as a hint, as a business owner, have them take the assessment first before you disclose to them what the 5 are. Because there's one in particular that a lot of team members, especially employees who are doing kind of like office work, will always gravitate towards just because it sounds better. Okay, the first one of your support style is awards. There are certain people in the world who just really like plaques and trophies and certificates and ribbons. They're the people that had a trophy room in their home because of all the things that they won. They loved it when mom put their stuff up on the refrigerator. That's somebody who loves awards. Somebody who loves education is your next person. Your education person is somebody that you want to give books to, podcasts to, send them things like this to where they can learn because it means that they believe that you care enough about them to help them have more education and they will thrive off of that. That's appreciation. Next is oversight. There are people who really like to feel like they have deadlines. They're going to have informal check-ins. They're going to have formal progress meetings or goal settings with you or given a mentor or any type of performance. They love that stuff because they want to know where they are. And that's important for an oversight person. Then you're going to have the person who loves praise. All you got to do is say, yo, good job today. You rocked it in front of other people or even privately. But a lot of praise people like to at least have another person around to hear that they got praised. These are the kids who loved it when mom showed up at their recital and said they're amazing and all that stuff. That's great. That's a public praise person. And then lastly is autonomy. So the autonomy person is the person that says, tell me what to do, leave me alone, and I'll come back and tell you when it's done. This is the one where most people, if they don't take the assessment ahead of time, most employees will say, oh yeah, I'm autonomy. Just leave me alone. I'll do my job. But the truth that we know about autonomous people is this. They have a high level of personal accountability. They have a high level of personal reporting. Most team members that are at a lower level, meaning that they're doing more say digitized work, they're doing import work, they're working on a different level that they don't have to do a lot of super thinking around it. They're going to go to this. They don't usually have a high level of accountability. That's why you have to do that first. So when you look at all 5 of these, here's the thing. All of them are good. All of them are powerful. All of them work. All of them show appreciation. And you need to know when do you need to be specific to that one employee? When do you help them actually connect? So that being said, when you put all 3 of these together, you create that magnetic culture equation. And companies with a strong culture of collaboration and teamwork are up to 5 times more productive than their counterparts without such a culture. If you want productivity by your team members, if you want them to actually get more or you want to get more out of them, focus on the culture because that will help them feel like they're not alone, they're connected. There's a lot of other things we can go into that, but I want to show you very specifically as we're going down our last minutes here, how do you overcome price location economy with one very specific example? I told you Apple before. Some of you remember this commercial. It came out in May of 2006. This is pre-iPhone, by the way. This commercial was very simple. It was a very simple script. This overweight, nerdy kind of looking dude versus the young hipster. The young hipster was the first one to speak, and he said, "Hello, I'm an Apple." Actually, I think he said, "Hello, I'm a Mac." And this guy said, "And I'm a PC." And in that moment, what happened for anybody who saw that commercial, read it in a magazine or a newspaper, they made a decision. Who do I want to identify with? The young, hip, cool dude or the overweight, nerdy, out of date guy? And notice that the phrase that they used was, "Hello, I'm a Mac." And this was, "I'm a PC." We all know that a PC just stands for personal computer. Apple at that time only had personal computers and an iPod. And what happened was, in that moment, we all made a psychological choice. Are we more like Apple or PC? But a PC is a computer. So what did Apple do? Apple said in that moment, they didn't say, "Oh, and I'm a Daewoo, I'm a Compaq, I'm a Windows." They didn't do any of that stuff. They lumped everybody into something called a PC, and we're something called an Apple. And to this day, we see them as two completely separate things. You've either got an Android or an iPhone, same thing. You've either got an Apple or you've got a PC, not a Windows or any of the other stuff. And let me show you how important this was. This was when the commercial came out in 2005, 6, May of 2006. The iPhone came out almost a year later. They had a little bit of a dip and then skyrocketed ever since because they were able to be a differentiator in the market. You have to be able to do that in your business. How are we not like all the other organic people or all the other programs that are out there? How are you differentiating yourself? You guys went a minute over. I thank you for your time, but I hope you get the power of understanding your magnetic culture equation.
Dino, you did it. Awesome. Way to knock it out of the park, my friend.
Woo! I was like
Thank you
running a
for,
sprint.
I know. Yeah, you usually probably teach us over days. But the good news is we can go back and we can watch this over again. There's a ton of content here and we've got access to your book. So, Dino, awesome. Thank you for being part of the lineup here today.
Thanks for having
And
me. I appreciate it.
absolutely, Margot dropped it in the chat again. Take advantage of that offer. Just because it's free does not mean that it is not valuable. Like these guys pour their heart into this. And so accept the gift as a gift and say thank you, Dino. Very good. Send Dino some love. Yeah, already seeing that in the chat. Appreciate you
Thank
being
you,
part
Ed.
of
Have a great one.
part of the lineup. You bet.